Welcome to the Gunshot Detection Solutions webinar with our hosts, Bruce Montgomery from Honeywell and Boaz Raz from EAGL Technology. My name is Katie Hunt. I'll be assisting on today's webinar. On your screen, you'll notice a box for Q&A where you can type and submit the questions you may have at any time. The audience will remain muted during the presentation, and questions will be answered at the end. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be made available for replay. We are going to give everyone just a couple more moments to join before we start.
Katie, just one adjustment before we do get started. I'm not seeing the player live right now. Okay.
Okay, I think we're ready to start. Hi all, thank you for joining. Please welcome Bruce Montgomery and Boaz Raz. Bruce, take it away.
I want to thank everyone for attending. Katie, I do need you to move the slides, and I apologize for that. I've lost my live view, so I'm not going to be able to see the live stream. Give me 1 second.
Hey everybody on the phone, we're just having a couple technical issues, so we're going to get started here in just a moment. Just as a reminder, we've had a lot of people join in the last couple of minutes, so I just want to welcome everybody to the Gunshot Detection Solutions webinar. Hosting today is Bruce Montgomery from Honeywell and Boaz Raz from EAGL Technology. So I'll be assisting on the call today, and I just want to remind everybody there's a box for Q&A. There's probably going to be a lot of questions today. You can type the questions you have at any time, and you will remain muted. The audience remains muted during the presentations, and we'll answer questions at the end, and we are recording. So Bruce, I'm happy to move the slides if you are ready to go and give some background on yourself.
Yeah, Katie, I just need 2 seconds. I'm sorry. My live screen is not pulling up on my monitor. I do apologize for the delay, but I should just, I'm not even sure why it disappeared, to be quite honest with you. Okay, there you go. So I apologize for the delay. My name is Bruce Montgomery. I'm with Honeywell Security, Honeywell Enterprise Security. I am a former police officer and have spent about, actually 25 years in law enforcement, and the majority of my time was spent either in training active shooter scenarios for schools or active shooter scenarios within law enforcement. So I spent the lion's share of my last 25 years in this industry for protecting schools and workplace against active shooters. Can you move to the next slide, Katie? So one of the issues we have with designing systems with active shooters is that we have a lot of different theories and principles of how to design schools and workplace to prevent and prepare for an active shooter incident. But there is one clear and indisputable fact, is that we must build a system that removes the human delay in reporting these incidents to law enforcement. Our goal within Honeywell is to have two principal effects within our system. And one is to get law enforcement to the school faster. And the second is get law enforcement to the shooter faster in these certain incidents. But we realize that we still need to build a system for the 95% of normal activities within your school or workplace. All of that being considered, we still need to prepare for that 5% because we are all going to be judged on the 5%. On the next slide, I'm going to go through some of the issues that we want to focus on in order to get law enforcement to that site faster, to your workplace or school. So when we do design systems, we want to remember that we need to focus on removing that human delay in reporting. So some of those things that we're going to deploy in our systems are going to be gunshot detection and weapon detection analytics. All of that is to generate a call to 911 in some manner, whether it's a direct phone call, whether it is a call to your call center, whether it's a email or text notifications. I think all need to be done. But as long as we can get that a call to law enforcement in some manner, we need to really have it automated so that we don't need to depend on an employee or a staff member to make that call for us. Lastly, we need to make sure we integrate those automation alerts and notifications to our staff, our workforce, and our students. So while we are trying to get law enforcement to the school faster, we want to make sure that we are at least delivering some messaging and information to our workplace so that they can comply with A.L.I.C.E training. And if you're not familiar with A.L.I.C.E, A.L.I.C.E is a training program that's really being taught across the country and also for us in workplace too, in corporate America. What we'll see about A.L.I.C.E is that we're going to discuss a little bit more as we move along. But if we go to the next slide, we'll talk about some methods on getting law enforcement to the shooter faster. And this is when really it comes down to a design. Getting law enforcement to your school or to your workplace, right now, we've discussed it as automated. Now, how do we get law enforcement to the shooter faster? And that really gets a little bit tricky in our design, but some of the things that if we know how law enforcement responds to calls and responds to your business, we need to get them into that spot faster. So knowing how they do respond is that you're going to have a lot of officers coming very quickly to your building. And if you're in a school or you're in a business, you know that most of those doors on the outside are numbered, and they're numbered with some letters or identification somehow. But that's really challenging for them to get to that or even know where those doors are. So what we like to do is we like to identify those entrances closest to the shooter with a strobe light, and we can pull those indicators from your detectors or from your access control or video system, fire off outside of the entrance where the shooter last fired a weapon. We want to get them to that door faster. So that also opens up a bunch of questions about how do we get law enforcement into your building faster. So this is just food for thought here. If you happen to have a building or a school that already has ballistic laminate on the windows, or you plan on putting ballistic laminate on the windows, I do think it's a great idea. However, when you do that, you also realize that you eliminate the possibility of, once you enter a lockdown scenario, that if your law enforcement officers don't have keys to your building or to your doors, how do they get in? And if you've already added ballistic laminate on your windows, then the option of breaking a window to get in is gone, because there's no way they're going to bust through that window once the laminate's on there. So what we do at Honeywell, and what we want to make sure your system does also, is that we want to make sure that you issue a some sort of a law enforcement card. Now, within Honeywell, we call it an ESD card, or an emergency services team card. What that does, it's an access control card getting into your building that we can give to law enforcement. They can put it in their tactical vest, or they can put it in their squad cars, and it has zero privileges on it 24/7. The only time it does allow them into those doors is when you enter a lockdown scenario. Now, if you can imagine law enforcement arriving to your scene, and then the strobe light is outside on one of your side doors or a perimeter door, that they can see that strobe light, they know exactly where they need to be headed to. So that gets them not only to your building faster, but now I'm getting them to my scenario, my shooter faster. And that's really the information that law enforcement needs to be able to expedite this. Next slide. So what's new in active shooter design? And these are things that we consider within Honeywell. We do have a dedicated team that does active shooter designs. We've brought in engineering focused on active shooter safety design needs, meaning that we're bringing in analytics, which are gunshot detection analytics, face detection analytics, weapon detection analytics, and also gunshot detection itself. All of these things are new in our design over the last 2 years, and we're just perfecting them right now when we're getting better at what we're doing in our business. We've also brought in some grant writing help to help funding and resources for public schools. And we also take a lot of feedback from our end user forum, which is a group that we partner with, and they consult on what schools and businesses need in their design to help us implement that into our product and to overall create a better solution for this type of design. Next slide. So when we look at our designs, we really have to look at a good, better, best design, because your schools and businesses come in all different shapes and sizes. Some might not be as sophisticated as others, so we do have to keep that in mind. We do have what we call our good, better, best model, which means we have an entry level, which is WinPack and Max Pro Cloud, that can help multiple schools, district size projects. But also we can put gunshot detection on now and integrate it together already. That means that we get to go into that entry-level school, those smaller schools that don't have the big budgets, and we can still deliver really high-quality access control video and gunshot detection to meet all of those essential threats. Next slide. You can see as we progress into our mid-level designs, we start to bring on different enhanced products, such as loiter detection, adding ProWatch access control, which is our enterprise level. We do vehicle trackers, bringing license plate detection and recognition into our video platforms. We can still use Max Pro Cloud. We have gunshot detection that does our alarm at events, integrates to mass notification, and makes those early warning alerts that are essential possible, even at a mid-level design. Next slide. And you can see very quickly how we progress into the enterprise level, which can be large corporate, universities, and other complex multi-site facilities. And some of our high schools are really no different than this altogether. But this is where we need to start adding some perimeter detection into areas coming onto your property that you might want to be alerted to. All of these integrations, in addition to gunshot detection and all of the vehicle notification, loiter trace, all of those things are very easy for us to do on this enterprise level. The other component here is that it's easy to progress from that good, better, best in our product line, all following into that same progression if you do grow within your business or maybe your demands increase. Next slide. So ultimately, we don't get to pick when bad things happen, they pick us. So we have to be really good all of the time. Our bad guys only have to be good once. But now is a good time to talk about some of the statistics within what we're looking at in active shooters across our country. So this study was done by the FBI, and it's from 2017. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on is where our incidents are happening and the frequency. The details of where we're seeing more active shooters right now is we're looking at about 21% of active shooters are occurring in our education segment. But the really shocking thing to me, which I found, was the large majority of active shooters occurring in commercial space, which is right at 42%. So nearly double of what we see today in education is occurring in our commercial setting. So we really wanted to make sure that we're creating these systems that are not only good for the K-12 and higher ed market, but also very, very fitting into our commercial partners, because we're seeing more of this occurring in America today. Next slide. So out of this study, the most shocking thing that I found was, yes, the number of incidents are alarming. However, during the first 7 years of this study, we saw an average of 6.4 incidents annually. During the last 7 years, it was 16.4 incidents annually, and that number continues to increase in frequency. So we're seeing it more. It's becoming more prevalent in our society and through all commercial properties, including schools. So our desire and the level of importance of us needing to implement these products, such as gunshot detection, into our systems was never more important. One of the things that we had seen in what we do in our business is we have, I'm sorry, can you go to the next slide, Katie? One of the things that we had seen in our business is for many, many years, we had the traditional pillars of security that was sold in all of our businesses, in all of our schools: access control, video, and intrusion, the three mainstays. And what we found is those three mainstays are no longer good enough as a traditional pillar for what we're doing and how we're protecting our staff members, our employees, and our students today. We found that we had to really start branching out and showing these level of integrations. And now what we look at is the traditional pillars of security now include analytics into our camera systems and into our access control systems, gunshot detection into our systems, deeply integrated into our access control platforms so that we can automate those communications, and integrated into our mass notifications so we can have early alerts to our students and teachers and employees. Mass notification so we can deliver all of these things, these messages that are critically important. But I don't want to delay. I want them to go out instantly as soon as I hear that gunshot, because seconds matter. Time saves lives. All of these things integrated under a single platform give us the best chance to be able to deal with a very bad situation that's happening on a bad day. Next slide. So I talk about the principles of school and workplace violence. And these are things that we recommend you take into consideration in your design. And one is, in your pre-design, think about those pillars of security, those new pillars of security. When we talk about integrations and communications into your pre-design, how are you going to alert your staff, teachers, and students? How do we automate lockdowns? We have to make sure that in our design, we do lockdowns with and without human interaction. We have to think about that, because if I'm depending on a person to initiate a call to law enforcement, then statistically, that's about a 2-minute and 39-second delay on average in a gunshot active shooter incident. 2 minutes and 39 seconds in a school while gunshots are, or in a business while gunshots are going off, is eternity. I have to eliminate that, and we got it down to about 4 seconds right now. Mass notification, one of the most important things that we do today by putting together a good active shooter system. That is that system, the mass notification, that now delivers automated voice messaging upon the shot being fired. Automatic text notifications, automatic dialing 911. All of these things are happening within seconds instead of minutes, getting law enforcement to our scene faster. We've already designed the system so that law enforcement can not only get to my school faster and get to the shooter faster, this mass notification is that tool that's doing that for us. Gunshot detection, we're using EAGL technology. You're going to see that today right after in the next couple slides. You're going to see a lot of technology that is going to become crystal clear to you and show you exactly what we need to do and how we're doing it today. Video and video analytics is a growing technology, but there's still work we need to do on it. We have weapon detection and we have face detection that is improving daily, and we're going to continue to work on and bring into our systems and have a deeper involvement with us. We talked about the licensed strobes and using these existing devices that might be in your school already, but I want them to be purposeful. And for those of you who have ever been stuck in an alarm where you might have heard a fire alarm or a burglar alarm and seen a strobe light going off, the reasons we talk about these things is we put them at entrances. We put them in those critical areas, and we do it deliberately, because if with these new gunshot detection systems, if a shot is fired outside your school, we instantly lock down the doors. The other thing that's happening is I'm also sending a strobe and a sounding alarm at my entrances that is really deafening. If you've ever been stuck in one, then you know how hard it is to think and focus. I want to make it very difficult for those offenders to have the luxury of thinking and focusing clearly. I would really look to these devices as a psychological deterrent to drive them away from my entrances and get them away from my business or my school. I know our good guys are going to be out there. We're going to find these bad guys later, but ultimately my goal is to get them away from your business and get them away from your school without allowing them inside. If they are inside, I want to make it difficult for them to think. And these are some of those psychological deterrents that we're going to use. Lastly, our messaging during the emergency. Now, for those of you in schools or those of you in businesses, you probably know somebody or have your own kids that are in schools today that are using A.L.I.C.E training. It is taught in almost every K through 12 school in the country. And that essentially is that run, hide, fight message. So the run, hide, fight is being taught to that K through 12 market. One of the weaknesses, which I personally think that it is an incredibly valuable tool for that K through 12 segment to use in workplace also. But what we're not doing is we're not delivering that message. So the first part of that A.L.I.C.E training in the run, hide, fight is the run. And now what we're not delivering yet is where to run to or where to run from. So if now with our new gunshot detection system integrated into our access control and our mass notification, if a shot is fired in the parking lot, then that message to your staff, your teachers, your students, your employees is coming across your PA alerting them to an active shooter, and also saying shots fired in the west parking lot. That means that we're not going to be running to the west parking lot. So at least we're delivering some really quality information to the inside staff of your people and your students. How about if you get the notification of the shots fired in the cafeteria? If your classroom or your office is not near the cafeteria, then you have the ability to run. The next part of A.L.I.C.E is the hide portion. So if we're going to have to hide and that shot is fired in hallway B, and my office is right off of hallway B, well, then I know very clearly I can't stick my head out to the hallway and run. I'm going to have to lock my doors and hide. So that information is critical to deliver to our staff, teachers, employees, and our businesses. That information is going to save lives. And if I can, again, deliver that message in 4 seconds, then we're more prepared today than we ever have been before. That information is going to be shared in many different manners too. When we get into some of the details of the EAGL gunshot detection, I'm introducing Boaz Raz as the CEO of EAGL Technology. He's going to talk about some of these integrations and some of the technologies that when you see the messaging and how it's being delivered and the speed, we're in a much better position today than we ever have been before. So with that, I'd like to introduce Boaz and take it away.
Hey, Bo, we can't hear you. If you can come off mute.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Bruce. EAGL Technology is an extremely state-of-the-art system, very flexible. Because of its architecture, it's very easy to integrate to any kind of vertical, if it's education or transportation or house of worship or any other verticals in the market. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to explain to you why EAGL Technology architecture and our technology is very different than anything else in the market and why it is superior. So our sensor basically is not a sound sensor. It's an energy sensor. So basically we are not listening to anybody and we are not recording anything. In fact, the sensor is asleep most of its life. It will wake up when there is a snapping noise above the ambient noise, and then it will analyze the event to determine if this is a threat or non-threat. That specific physics algorithm was developed at the Department of Energy in one of our national labs, and then we licensed the technology and we built the software and hardware to implement that, and of course we took it 10 steps forward from that point. If you look at specifically this chart on the upper right, you can see that if you look at the signature of different energies, if the classification threshold is this line, then anything below that will be considered non-threat, and anything above the line will be considered a threat. So you can see that the highest energy level just below the classification threshold is a firecracker, and you can see that the lowest energy level just above that line is a 22 caliber. So this is what a 22 caliber looks like, 9 millimeter and so forth, as far as the energy signature in our system. The separation of threat to non-threat, because of the physics, is Six Sigma technology. That means that guarantee no false alarm. There aren't any noises that can produce the same energy as a firearm. In addition to that, once we determine that, yeah, it was a detection, we take a sample of the waveform in proprietary algorithms, and we send it for the EAGL for further analysis. First of all, to confirm that, yeah, that was a gunshot, and secondly, we're also able to tell you the caliber of the weapon, of what was actually used. So this is a two-level authentication system. The first one is the energy level, and the second section is the waveform analysis. So if you look at the system architecture, basically it requires an EAGL server. You need to have one of these in your facility or multiple facilities. One server can support multiple buildings easily. And while it's sitting on your customer IT network, we are able to communicate to all your doors that you have, as well as your cameras, as well as any other external system that you have, such as ProWatch or any other system. We're also able to talk to your PA system and phones and so forth. On the other side, the EAGL server talks to our gateway. Excuse me. The gateway is a PoE device in one side, actually connected to the customer network. On the other side, it's wireless. Our devices are 100% wireless. When I said wireless, that means that they are battery operated. Battery lasts 7 years. The range of the wireless inside the building is 500 feet because we're using a very low proprietary frequency to communicate with our devices. When I say 500 feet, remember that the RF signal is spherical, it's not linear. So that means, for example, if I have a gateway on the second floor of the building, I should be able to pick up all the sensors from the first floor, second floor, and third floor. Also, of course, we have a panic buttons that can be placed. And later on, with the adaptive response, which we're going to talk about, you can decide what kind of response you would like to do with each one of the devices. All our devices wakes up once a day, do a self-test, and send a heartbeat to the EAGL server. This is the user interface, and those green lines, basically, those are heartbeats coming in. All our devices also have a temper switch in them. In the case there is a temper, it will let the system know and shut itself down. The detection range of a Firefly is 100 feet radius, which gives you 31,400 foot detection area. Best place is on the ceiling, between 8 to 20 feet high. For outdoor detection, we are using the same technology, except we're using our Dragonfly sensor. Of course, that the detection physics to detect an indoor and outdoor is a completely different. That's for the Dragonfly is a completely different sensor. The Dragonfly detection range is 150 feet radius, which gives you 71,000 square foot detection area. And it should be placed on a building or on a pole between 15 to 25 feet high. The communication between the gateway and the Firefly, in the Dragonfly, as long as you have line of sight outdoor, it can be up to 2 miles. In the case that you don't have a network at all, let's say you want to put this in some kind of a parking lot in the middle of nowhere, you can use the Dragonfly with the IoT radio, in 4GE, LTE radio. In this case, the sensor will communicate via the cell tower up to our secure cloud, and from there down to the EAGL anywhere in the world. So there's no need for a gateway. So basically, you got two options. One is using the gateway, and the other one is using the IoT. So now let's look at the holistic picture of what happened. So we have a detection. Basically, we have indoor detectors, we have outdoor detectors, and we have panic buttons all communicating via the gateway to the EAGL. So now let's get to the EAGL. Okay, now what? This is where the adaptive response take over. The adaptive response allow you to set up per sensor or group of sensor or panic buttons or any combination you would like, the type of response that you want. The response will include what door I want to lock down, what message I want to call to 911 or anybody else. We have a text-to-speech engine built in to the EAGL server, which allows you to create unlimited messages and can go out, which PA system I want to talk to, and what message I want to send. You can also customize the building location. As I mentioned, the EAGL can be controlling multiple buildings. So for example, I will go ahead and put the EAGL in building A, the server, but in building B, I'm only going to put a gateway and a few sensors, and in building C, a gateway and a few sensors, and so forth in building D. So now, in the adaptive response, I'm going to group all the sensors in building A and say, okay, for building A, I want to lock these doors, I want to call these people, I want to send this message, and I want to send also part of the message, what is the building address for building A. For building B, I want to lock different doors, of course, and so forth. We also allow you to send automatic message via email and text. I'm going to show an example of that within seconds of the event. And also to select who you want to send the message to, again, per sensor or group of sensors. Also, you can define which cameras you want to start streaming video based on the sensor event. And as Bruce talked about strobe lights, we have 8 relay boards in the back of the server that allow you to connect anything that you want in addition to what we are doing, for example, the strobe light on the specific door. In addition to that, we talk to any external system. In ProWatch, for example, very tight integration, signals going both ways. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So basically, the adaptive response is extremely sophisticated and flexible system that allows the user to implement the security strategy that fits their building or their location, right? So down to the level of multiple buildings and multiple PA system and multiple messages only with one server. Here's an example that the customer will receive, or the people that assign to the system on their phone within seconds of the event. It will show them a picture of the layout of the building, where the shooter is. This is where the indication where the shooter is, and then description of exactly what's going on. And where it says this is a test only, you can add a custom message again per sensor to determine if you want a specific, let's say you want to say building B north end or something like that, that is more descriptive of what the event is. So basically, our system is extremely flexible and extremely simple. Once you have a server in place, then you need a gateway. And then once you have the gateway, you can place your devices at leisure based on the design to meet the security strategy that you wish. As I mentioned, you can have multiple gateway in multiple buildings. So let's say in the main building you have the server, but in the next 10 buildings you only have a gateway and sensors. Because the sensors are all wireless, no wires need to be run, and no power needed, no camera, no wires needed at all, no network needed. It's extremely cost-effective and affordable to do so. So here's an example of our user interface to the EAGL. This is actually the Honeywell headquarters building. So you can see that we bring up all the devices, all your assets into one location, showing you where the sensors are, where your doors are, where your cameras are, and any other assets you choose to bring. You can click on any camera at any time, you can start streaming video. And by the way, everything that you can do from the phone, from the computer, you can do on your phone. Here's an example of the strong integration that we have with ProWatch. So in this specific example, if you click here on the button of ProWatch devices, you just put the first letter, it will show you all the devices that ProWatch has, doors, camera, elevators, whatever they are. And then you will click the other one, it will show you what devices EAGL has, sensor EAGL has, and then you link them. So you click on additional button, which you cannot see on this screen, and basically it links these devices to that specific device. So now, any activity that's happening on either side, if somebody open a door, it's going to show up the door on the EAGL map and show you that it opens. Or if there's any detection from the EAGL sensor, it will show up on the ProWatch immediately. And then from the ProWatch, you can do additional programming based on your security strategy. In summary, if you look at what EAGL is providing, it's a very comprehensive solution. Basically, our detection range is extremely 31,000 square foot detection area. We can detect a 22 caliber, which is extremely unique to what we can. All our devices are completely wireless. We can interface with any PA system with no cost. And we can do multiple systems at the same time as well. Integrated access control system to control door groups. So we don't just control. We allow in the EAGL system, the customer can create his own door groups based on what the security strategy is for. External only, cafeteria only, building A, and so forth.
Bo, there's a couple of these. Hey, Bo, if you give me a minute, there's a couple of these I wanted to focus on for some of our audience group that we found within Honeywell was one of the several of the most important features that were critical in our designs. And from what we're seeing in the security world, one of the things that we couldn't do previously was detect a 22 caliber bullet, and with EAGL we can definitively detect that 22 caliber bullet, and that's critical because one of the number one weapons used in shooting today is the 22 caliber. We weren't able to do that in some of the other systems. Secondly, that wireless device, being able to deploy that very simply and also be able to move that. If we needed to move it to another area, we could do that very, very simply. So the next side of in the industry for the integrators on the phone, gunshot detection systems were considered one of the more challenging to sell because of the price. EAGL has now made this so affordable that it is the type of system that even the smallest school in middle America without the big budget can now afford because of the way we can deploy it and be able to add value to that system. Integrating to a PA system with no additional cost, even the old legacy PA systems that you might find in your buildings or in your schools, EAGL is integrating to that at zero additional cost. Having a address button, being able to have unlimited text messaging to not only to your employees but to your your students and the other people within your group. And I'll give you some examples of that. And that would be, how about your employee list? Because not all of your employees are on the scene or in your building at all the time. So if you were to have an incident in your building or your school, how about that messaging goes out to all of those other staff members, so that they don't now bring themselves into the scenario where they otherwise weren't, or they could walk into the building unknowingly that something bad was going on or occurring. All of these things that you see listed on this screen, these are those communication methods, the integration so that I can have integrate to your digital displays, integration so that I can have that pop-up screen come on to your law enforcement agency, and they get that mapping feature, and they get the things, they can see what's going on instantly. And how about one of the lower bottom ones where you see it says the ballistic model for caliber identification for indoor and outdoor? That tells law enforcement how they're going to respond, and also how they're going to be looking for offenders. Now, if you have a long gun or a rifle or shotgun, well, we know it's something that they can't put into a backpack. And now they're looking for that type of weapon. So all of these things that really are afforded to us, these are these messaging things. This is the next pillar of security that we're talking about that we need to think about in our design. So again, these features are invaluable to us right now. But did you have anything else to cover on this slide?
Just one more thing I want to cover is I want to talk about our message portal. So our message portal, which we built into the EAGL, is basically a mass notification system. So it allows you to basically to create messages not only in an emergency, but using it any day for any purpose to send messages to your staff, your students, your administration, anybody that you create in a group for, and that message can come in a text, email, or a phone call, and notify them. Let's say something as simple as tomorrow is a snow day, come 2 hours later, or something like that. And again, everything here is accessed by the phone.
Perfect. Great. Thank you so much. On our last slide, what we've done within Honeywell is we have our engineering staff. We have 3 of our application engineers certified and trained in EAGL. We have our certified field technicians, and we have our sales team certified in EAGL. So when we do designs and we're out talking to you and your customers, we know what we're talking about with this gunshot detection. We've been trained in it, we've been certified in it, and our designs are so that we can continue to offer that next level of security. You see on this screen here, we have an email that you can send directly to Honeywell, and we'll make sure we have one of our trained representatives come talk to you and be able to bring qualified integrators with us. What we want to do is we want your feedback. We want your additional questions that might come later. We're going to open it up to some questioning here on this next slide, but we want to make sure we give you an email that is going to be monitored and something you can send into. So, Katie, you want to take this?
Yes, so just as a reminder, you can type in a question in the Q&A box on your screen, but I see that people are already using that really well. We have tons of questions to get through, so I'm going to go ahead and start that now. So the first one is the EAGL, this is in from Johnson Control, is the EAGL wireless install complex? If installed with Gateway, does it involve an EAGL rep for install to complete?
No, the integrator needs to come to certification training, which takes 3 days in our headquarters, and at that point they are certified. The installation is actually the easy part, which is any low voltage certified technician can install that. It's basically running a couple of wires for one wire for the gateway, and the rest is just placing the devices. Where the knowledge needs to be is how to implement the security strategy of the customer into the EAGL, and that's where the training is, which is pretty simple. It's a bunch of click buttons, but that's what the training is focused on.
Okay. I've got another one for Bo, Rockwell Automation. What OS is the EAGL server?
Linux.
See here. Next one, also from Rockwell. Can the IT department provide the hardware, or must we buy the EAGL server hardware?
No, the EAGL server is proprietary technology. For example, gunshot detection, identification of the caliber identification, and so it cannot be installed, cannot be sold on a separate computer. However, we do have a cloud version that can be used.
Okay. Next question. Can this solution be sold in Europe too?
Yes, we are. Yes, Europe, Asia, Africa, we are selling in those areas.
Okay. See, does everyone say, maybe in a school, all the teachers need to download an app for the notifications to come to them and connect it to the network? Basically, is there an EAGL app for its customers? It's a great question.
At the moment, it's just using the text message, basically sending you a text message to your phone. We are working on an app that people that do not want to use that, they can use the app instead of using their text messaging.
Okay. This one maybe for Bruce and also Bo. For ProWatch integration, is the DTU or the SDK used?
The DTU.
No. The integration. Sorry, you don't need anything for integration. It was already done from our side and Honeywell side. The only thing you need to know is basically what you want to do, and just click on the right button.
Yeah, but to answer the question regarding the DTU, you do need the DTU with API, and that pulls it into ProWatch natively, and you'll be able to have that. It is a very deep integration between EAGL and ProWatch.
Okay. Next one. This is probably for Bruce. Great presentation. I was looking at previous webinars and saw one from last year. Does Honeywell represent only EAGL as their gunshot detection, or does Honeywell represent other gunshot detection systems as well?
So we work with others as well. Certainly different applications and different integrations come in all, obviously different shapes and sizes. Some people might even have existing. So one of the differences is Honeywell is selling EAGL directly through Honeywell now.
Okay. Maybe as a similar question, how does EAGL differentiate with an audio solution versus the energy wave detection, Bruce?
So how does EAGL differentiate? Okay, so a couple different things. One, actually, I'm going to ask Bo to help out with this too. But I mean, from our perspective, coming from my experiences. So one of the things that we've seen more and more is by using systems that have done audio detection, and this isn't any one in particular. This is many different systems that would use an audio source. There was issues with false positives in the lower caliber, such as the 22 caliber. There was also other issues with false positives based on specific noises, and that became problematic. And there's other systems that do it very well, and there's some that don't do it very well. But it was inconsistent. The level of consistency and reliability that we got from EAGL, which is basically using the energy level of the energy signature coming from the bullet, and not looking for the bang, so to speak, right? Looking for the energy versus the bang. We had a higher confidence level, and we had more accuracy in the lower calibers, which was the 22. And they were able to detect it consistently. And we have tested it in many ranges, indoor and outdoor. So our level of confidence, at least with the EAGL and the energy side, has been more consistent and stable from what we've seen in our testing. Although, like I said, there are other systems that are very good, although I can't speak to all of the testing that's been done with those. Bo, maybe you could add more flavor into this from your side?
Yes, sir. So when you use an audio system, there are a few issues. The first of all is the sensor have to be on all the time to listen to what's going on. So by doing that, you're basically already telling me that you're going to be very limited on how much power you can use for wireless. You got to use a battery operated. You got to use power for that. The second issue is it's not in some states it's not even legal to listen to conversation and so forth. And then once you actually hear something, you have to analyze and compare what you heard, compare your database and see is it one of these things. And then there's an issue of a range as well. Because we are basically listening to conversations, there's how much range you can actually get from that detection. So all of these facts that you're using sound are not making it a specific gunshot detector. It's a sound detector that you are trying to filter out what actually gunshot look like.
Okay. Next question. What records are available for a forensic investigation or presentation in court?
So we have the record. So basically, every time there's a detection, it's recorded in the system. The data belongs to the user. The user can automatically push the button and download it to Excel. It will show him the time, the location, the weapon type, how many shots were fired, and basically and little more information regarding the location and so forth.
Okay. Are there any licensing fees?
Yes.
There are some licensing fees. I'll hit this one, Bo. So there are some licensing fees on the different products, and they're variable based on the type of application. Probably it would be better if we got into that with that design rep when we design the system. But comparatively, very, very small compared to what you may have known in the past.
Okay, I just want to give everybody a heads up. We have several questions, so I'm going to keep it rolling for our presenters on the line if you want to stay on, but I just want to let you know it'll probably take us about 5 to 6 minutes after. So we'll keep going. We'll also make this available for replay if you want to come back, or you can email that email on your screen with questions, and we will follow up directly with you if we don't get to your question. So next question is the mapping location feature updated for Leo as the active shooter moves through the building?
So yes. So every time that you shoot, it will automatically update the map. However, as soon as there is a first shot, we're also pulling the cameras so you can actually see the shooter and where it's going. And again, this can be done. It's done automatically. It can be also viewed on your phone. So while the first responder running to the building, not only that they will see the gunshot moving along, they will see actually the person, how he looks like, what is he doing, what is he carrying. And as he moves between the next sensor, the next camera is going to pop up and so forth.
So, Bo, to even get more granular on this, so it's updating not only the map, but it's updating those notifications that are going to the building. So the things that are important for law enforcement right now is making sure that dispatch is getting those notifications, because it generally isn't the guys in the building that are watching the mapping. So we got to make sure that dispatch is getting those updated notifications and updated mapping alerts. Within the building, however, those instant alerts are notifying those occupants of the building, including law enforcement, where the shots are taking place. So for those law enforcement on the call, when you're entering the building and you're going into your contact teams and you're hunting, the shot is automatically coming over your PA system, telling you where the shots are being fired, where the shots are occurring, and it's helping to drive you quicker into that location.
Okay. I'm going to combine two questions. Does the system have cellular communication, Ethernet, or phone for monitoring? And is there a wired option?
And the answer is yes for both.
Okay. That was easy.
Katie just described that. The wired option is something that can be wired directly into alarm panels or fire panels without a server, but it does not give you all the forensic information. So it does make it quick and easy, kind of a not as flashy version, but it does give you gunshot detection in those small applications, such as like a C-store or a gas station. If you just needed one sensor and then daisy chain those, but you can do all of those type of applications with a wired system. Yes.
Also, Bruce, we also have something we call the gateway combo, which basically allow you to have the same capability as a PoE device.
Okay. Here's a good one. In the U.S., what school systems have adopted EAGL? Have you had any installations using EAGL with Honeywell? Clients don't want to feel they are the guinea pig, so some referenceable clients would be helpful in selling.
That can be provided upon request.
Yeah, we definitely have systems integrated, and we definitely have schools that are deployed right now today, as well as commercial. So we can talk about those offline, but you'd want to speak to your Honeywell rep before end user information is delivered to anybody. Quite honestly, a lot of end users don't like to publicize all the technologies that they have in their building, so those would be done upon approval of the end user.
Okay. Next one is, what is the text-to-speech engine? Can you get a little more clear on that, Bo?
Yes. So if you want to create a message, let's say code blue, use the north, evacuate the building immediately from the north hallway, for example. So you type it up in our system, and that will create the speech file that then in the adaptive response, you're going to use sensor 101 to send that message, right? And sensor 102 might send a different message, code blue, evacuate from the east door. Or another message can be a message you want to send to 911, the gunshot is detected at building such and such, at location such and such. Please call the building administrator. It's this number to confirm. And then you will use that when you create your reductive response to call 911 or call anybody else. So you can create unlimited messages, basically that can be sent out via voice.
If I could put together a real world scenario, the shooting down at Parkland, a lot of time was spent by officers trying to find out where the shooting was taking place because they had such a big campus and a lot of different buildings. This notification, as Bo just described, wherever the sensor is being fired off and wherever shots are being fired, it can be first floor, second floor of a separate campus building. This gives that alarm PA notification along with that outside strobe that indicates to law enforcement what building the shooter is in. And also the PA notification, shots fired, building B, second floor. Very quickly leads and aids law enforcement to get to the scene, and also very quickly aids the occupants where they should not go or where they should run away from or hide.
Okay, and this is probably a good time to say that if you email that mailbox on your screen and you want a demo, we can't do a live demo on this webinar platform because there's bandwidth issues, but I personally monitor that email, so if you want something to see it in real life with Bo and Bruce or others, let us know and we'll help get that coordinated. So the next question is, with the gunshot detection system, is there a way it can communicate to a camera type asset within the building that can mark and track it? This will help law enforcement get to the shooter faster.
So the way we do it is we talk to the cameras directly. We don't talk to the VMS. So basically, we set up the path of if I have 3 sensors, let's say in a certain path, I will in 3 cameras. I will set up association camera 1 to sensor 1, camera 2, and sensor 2, camera 3 to sensor 3. So automatically, if the person goes down the road, those cameras start popping up on the screen. We're only showing 4 cameras at a time. When the 5th camera comes up, then the first one want to close because we want to focus the attention of what's happening right now, right here. Right? We're not trying to replace the VMS system that have probably 150 cameras and you want to do some maybe playbacks and analytics. No, we're trying to show you what's happening right now in this location. Where as a person goes along the path, those cameras are going to light up.
Okay. We're going to wrap up here with just a few more questions. Can the EAGL, I think you guys pretty much covered this, so a quick yes or no. Can the EAGL server discriminate other noises such as screams and broken glass and fireworks?
No. So for fireworks, for the indoor system, we basically, as I showed in the foil, the first one, we basically doesn't have enough energy to trigger our system because this is where we set it. And we do not detect scream or noises or anything like that. Now, we can create a different sensor for that purpose, but that specific sensor does ignore everything else except gunshot.
Okay. Okay, that's similar. Is the EAGL server tested and integrated with other Honeywell solutions in addition to ProWatch, such as EBI and DVM? If not, is EAGL server equipped with relay contacts for hardwired integration?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah, so it has the opportunity, has the contacts on the back of the EAGL server to integrate to those systems, including EBI, but we also do that integration into the Max Pro Cloud server and system so that we can now deploy that entry-level system, including WinPack, including Cloud, including EBI. It gives you the ability to sell gunshot detection added onto those systems and still be able to have that mass notification component that EAGL brings along with our system, any of them.
Okay. Because the battery on the devices are 7 years, does the system need a maintenance agreement? What is involved in the battery replacement when the customer does need to replace?
Great question. The system monitors the battery life. We provide the batteries free, part of our service agreement, so it's not a concern of the customer. The integrator that's supporting the customer will replace them automatically. It's a C-size battery. Basically, you open the sensor and you replace it like a normal device.
And you will get health check alerts daily, as well as ProWatch gives you alert notification when you have low battery life in advance, so you can do a battery replacement long before it would ever go dead.
All right, I think this is going to be, well, we've got two really. Does the system have to integrate with A.L.I.C.E mass communication? Will it integrate with other MA systems?
Yeah, yes. So it integrates any of the mass notification systems, but A.L.I.C.E is a training program, so it's not necessarily a system that is integration. All it is we want to deliver the information that A.L.I.C.E needs to improve the occupant effectiveness, right? So A.L.I.C.E is really only telling the students when to run and hide or fight, and it's giving them all those cues and training to do that. What we're doing is just providing the information to make it more effective and giving them the information internally to know when to run, where not to run, and when they have to, hide. And basically, we're trying to avoid having them to stick their heads out into the hallway to see if a shooter's out there. We want to deliver that information to them. And yes, we do integrate to other mass notification, any mass notification system.
Okay. Back to the battery life, can the integrator receive the health alerts as well?
Anybody that wants to receive it, they're going to get it. They basically, when they set up the system, they put a list who's getting the notification. So one of the notifications is battery life, but one of them also is, in a case a heartbeat did not come in, for example, let's say something happened to the sensor, then they're going to get a message telling them that this sensor is now reporting today, located at this location, go check it out. They also get a temper message. Somebody tried to mess with the sensor, they're going to get a message about that as well.
Okay, we do have a question on the line. I wanted to address it. We will get in touch with you directly about the process to become a dealer. Follow on for the EAGL server question. Who will install software updates and critical hot fixes on the EAGL Linux server?
The integrator that was trained, again, in order to install the EAGL system, you need to come for training. Once you're certified, then you're supposed to work with your customer to do so. It's part of the maintenance program that you're going to offer the customer, right? For example, it's the same way that if you support the cameras, you support the access control, there's a maintenance program in place where you support them to do training or solve problems. So that's the same kind of a thing.
Okay, we have time for one last question. I'm going to combine these all in one. So how many gateways can be associated with EAGL? How many sensors can be associated with one gateway? And how many buildings can be connected to one EAGL server?
Oh boy. Okay, so the design does not have any limitation of actually quantity. So let's talk about the sensor. There's no limit of how many sensors can be connected to a gateway. What's going to limit you eventually is going to be the distance, right? After 500 feet, you want to put more sensor, you got to put another gateway. There is no limit of how many gateways can be set up on an EAGL. As far as how many buildings can be set up, that's more a physical question than a logical question, right? I will not recommend that you will try to control doors from New York and California, right? But if you have campus with 15, 16 buildings, you probably can have one server there. And if you have another campus in a different state, you probably want to put another server there.
Okay, I think we are out of questions and out of time, so I'm going to hand it over to Bruce to close us out here.
So I want to thank everyone for attending the webinar. obviously, we're very passionate about what we do with security and what we do with active shooters with our customers in our buildings. We have a really strong commitment to making your building safer, and I would love and encourage you to reach out to your Honeywell rep, myself, to see how we can do a walkthrough in your building and help with a system design that is going to bring this to that next level, to introduce all of the next level integrations that are going to make your building safer. Thank you very much for attending the webinar. And again, we're here when you need us, and look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you very much. Have a great day.